Hello everyone, my name is Lee Mudenda. I'm a PhD student under Center for Bioprocessing at the University of Cape Town. And my research work is centered around mine wastelands. We are looking at the risk that they possess on the water resources and adjacent agricultural lands. My research has three major legs that it is looking at. First of all is to look at trying to assess the risk that the mine tailings pose. So in here we're trying to look at the potential to generate acid and the potential for the tailings to the heavy metals from the tailings to reach. Further in my research, we want to look at, after having understood the basic characteristics of the tailings, to look at the likelihood that the impact that it would have on the water resources. And in doing so, we are looking at the water qualities, both the physical and the chemical parameters in water, and we're looking at the sediment quality, we're looking at the composition of aquatic organisms in the water, and also looking at the agricultural soils that are adjacent to the water resources, or the water that the communities are using that are in close proximity to the mine wastelands. And further, we also try in this research to reduce the risk that the tailings pose on the environment. And this research, we've decided to do a case study research in Zambia on the copper belt. The presence of more than 10,000 hectares of land that contain tailings provides a unique opportunity where we could assess the potential that this has. And the tailings on the Zambian copper belt, we have both historical and those that are active. So it gives us an opportunity to see what is happening with those that are active and what is happening with those that are historical, thereby giving us an informed viewpoint that would help us to contribute to sustainable mining practices in terms of what can we do to prevent based on the evidence of what we find. What mitigation measures can be put in place to minimize this environmental risk that coming from mine wastelands? And in determining the environmental risk, we looked at the three major elements that helped us determine which one would we choose, and that was to look at the one which would address our environmental concerns, we address our economic concerns, our communities, look at the social issues, and also from a technical perspective, one which would be easier to engage the community with to implement. And we looked at phytomining. And in phytomining, we exploit the herbaceous plant species that have invaded the mine wastelands to look at their potential to translocate or absorb the heavy metals from the tailings. And we did go through the mine wasteland, 7 of them, and from each of these 7 sites that we had, with 15 plots that we selected, and from the 15 plots we did sample the different species that were there. We were trying to first look at the relative dominance of the species that were found on the tailings. So we're trying to look at which species can we find are dominant. And so from our analysis, when we took our plants to the lab, we did conclude that these plant species like Andropogon, like Sidon, or Gloriosa simplex did show they were able to accumulate higher metals, and in some cases even going beyond 10,000 ppm in their shoots and in their roots. And also we did look at the ratios in terms of looking at the bioconcentration factor, which just looks at the ratio of heavy metal concentration in the roots against the soils that the plant is showing there. So those ratios we did calculate, and some metals, they had metal concentration that was higher in the shoots compared to the soils which we were sitting on, giving us an indicator that some of these plant species could be exploited for phytomining. Our preliminary conclusion is that tailings do pose a threat to the aquatic ecosystem and to the agricultural lands, as evidence that sediment quality, the water quality, composition of aquatic organism, it was showing that the streams are polluted. And vegetables that are being grown from the waters close to the mine tailings show that actually they are also exceeding the permissible limits for agricultural produces. And also, when we looked at the plant species that have invaded the mine tailings so far, we can conclude that most of these plants did show that they can be good species for phytomining when you are looking at copper. Of course, when we did look at other elements, they may not be suitable, but for copper accumulators, our plant species do indicate that there is potential to explore agricultural mining as a means of remediation. And if that is successful, we are hoping that that this research will further look at also creating new employment opportunities for the communities that are affected by mine wastelands.